You've probably seen someone on the internet, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, maybe even your neighbor, say that the Fort Lauderdale real estate market is crashing. And that's because they saw that the number of sales year over year here in April of 2025 is actually down a little bit over 22%. But is that what's really going on in Fort Lauderdale? Not necessarily, because home prices are actually up 8.6% year over year. So I think we need to dive in and kind of take a look at what's really going on here in Fort Lauderdale. And we're gonna break it down by both single family as well as condos and townhomes. And we're gonna take a look at everything: the active number of listings, the months of inventory, the days it takes to sell, as well as the average price points. And then we're also going to break it down by the greater Fort Lauderdale area and take a look at Broward County as a whole, as well as a little bit of the luxury market to really understand what's going on right now with home prices and the real estate market here in Fort Lauderdale in April of 2025. Now let's jump into the MLS and take a look at what's really going on. So we'll start off with these single family homes here in the Fort Lauderdale area. I got a little cheat sheet over here for some of our percentages. So let's start off with the active number of listings. So as you can see, just steadily increasing month over month. That's been pretty much a consistent theme that we've seen. So just under 2,100 active listings right now compared to this time last year. We were at about 1,643, so up about 400 active listings, but we've been teetering right under 2,100 the last couple months. So just slowly increasing, but we're not just getting an exorbitant amount of them. So it seems like we've kind of flatlined from that perspective, which is kind of nice. But that does play into the next stat, which is our average days to sell. So right now we're just shy of 90 days, which is just shy of 3 months. And honestly, that's not terrible. I mean, we got kind of spoiled for the last couple of years where you listed a home and it would sell. Now it is becoming a little bit more competitive. I mean, this time last year at about 65 days, slowly increasing, but not too much, just 15-day difference. But I will say, I mean, if you haven't an updated house, pricing it correctly and being aggressive with the marketing has made a huge difference. I mean, we've still been able to get some homes sold in under 30 days with the correct marketing, photos, pricing strategy, and really going after the buyers who are actually buying these homes, especially with some of the issues that are going on, whether it be rates or insurance. It's just making sure that you have the best product within that price range. Now, when it comes to the months of inventory, I think that also kind of plays into it a little bit. Fort Lauderdale is definitely more so of a buyer's market right now, sitting around 9 months of supply. Compared to this time last year, we were sitting at about 6 months of supply, which was an equilibrium. But we've been slowly increasing about 8 months for a while. Then earlier this year, we were about 10 months, then back down to 9 right now. So that's kind of nice to see that we're down a little bit, but I mean, still a buyer's market. So if you're a buyer, this is great. Sellers, you know, it's just being able to get a little bit better understanding of where you're at, what our goals are and things like that. But buyers, I mean, we're definitely seeing a little bit more concessions, being a little bit more flexible, whether it's on the price or the terms as well, which can be a nice thing. Now, when it comes to the average price point though, this is where it starts to get a little weird. Our average price point right now for single family home in Fort Lauderdale is $1,234,950, which is actually up just shy of 11% year over year. So this time last year, we were at 1.1, now we're at 1.2 million. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if the number of sales are down and we have more inventory, but I will say a lot of these homes are finally being updated, new roofs, impact windows, and that was a thing that kind of plagued us for a little bit. Now, when it comes to the number of sales of single family homes, right now, if it decides to load, there we go. We're actually down about almost 60 sales compared to this time last year. 294 this time last year. Right now we're sitting at about 231. So we're actually up a little bit from January and February, down from March. Overall on the single family side of things, we're down 21.43%. So sales are down, but prices are up. Now, how do we look on the condo and townhome side of things? So now let's switch it up. Let's look at the condos and townhomes. We'll start back up at the top. So let's look at the active number of listings with condos and townhomes. And I will say things are getting a little bit better with them because we're finally figuring out what's going on with the reserves, insurance, things like that, which is really nice. As well as we do have some new construction and new development options that a lot of people are like, hey, this condo or townhome is like my second or third home. I don't necessarily need it right now. I can get it at a great price buying some of these new construction condos and new developments I don't really owe any money right now besides my deposit. Then once it's built, I have some of the built-in equity. I also have some appreciation with different things, and I've locked in a great price point. And if you have questions on that or anything going on with these new development condos, shoot me an email. It's linked down below. Would love to help you guys out in any way that we can. But now let's talk about what the resale market's looking like. So definitely a huge increase. We're right around 800 new active listings compared to this time last year. 2843 compared to 3600 right now. Then let's see kind of the days to sell. Now this is the interesting part. Just wait. 88 days to sell. So only 8 more days in a single family home, and all the hoopla on the internet and everyone talking about how much more difficult it is to sell. I will say some of them are a little bit more difficult, especially when they have assessments, rising HOA fees. I mean, we have to really find and get creative with ways to sell and market and reach those buyers who can kind of weather the storm, but we're also not giving away some of these units. And that's really a little bit of the challenge and some of the nuance when it does come to selling some of these condos. So just shy of 3 months compared to this time last year, where we were just a little bit over 2 months. Now, in terms of the average, oh, my bad. We gotta look at the months of inventory here. So almost 13 months of supply. By far a buyer's market. We were in a buyer's market before this time last year. Definitely in a buyer's market now with almost 13 months of supply. In terms of price point though, again, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. Average price point, $588,254 for a condo or townhome right now in the Fort Lauderdale area, compared to $565,552 this time last year. A little bit over 4% increase. I know, interesting. And the sales, very similar to single family, actually down. So this time last year, 358 sales, right now 276, which puts us at down 22.91% year over year. And that one's a little bit more understandable because of, issues with people qualifying. I mean, you have to put 20 to 30% down on some of these condos. A lot of condos don't accept FHA financing because of the reserve situation. And this doesn't even include the new construction options that we were talking about. But now, what's going on in the greater Broward County area? So have that pulled up. Just like we did before, we're gonna look at the single family side, and then we'll look at the condo and townhome side. So when people talk about the greater Fort Lauderdale area, they're really talking about Broward County as a whole, just to fill you guys in. So let's take a look at the active number of listings as it decides to spin and load. We're gonna get there eventually. But I will say the greater Fort Lauderdale area does lump in a ton of other great cities that kind of fly under the radar that not a whole lot of people talk about while we're waiting on this to load. So Hollywood, Plantation, Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Coral Springs, Coconut Creek, Tamarack, Parkland, Deerfield Beach. So a lot of great areas. All right, now I think it's gonna work. We had to reload the page. Good thing that wasn't alive. All right, let's see. Fingers crossed. There we go. All right, so the active number of listings of single family homes here in Broward County, as you can see, very similar to just the Fort Lauderdale area, just slowly increasing. So overall, we're at 6,889 active single family homes. Compared to this time last year, we were at 5,371. So about 1,500 more active listings on the market than this time last year, which does tie into our average days to sell, where we're sitting just a little bit over 2 months. So actually not bad overall. 64 days compared to this time last year at 49 days. But we've been kind of consistent so far in 2025, at least 4 months in. Now, in terms of the active months of inventory, a little bit more so towards a buyer's market. Now, there are definitely parts of greater Broward County where it is a seller's market. We're sitting at about 7 months of supply compared to this time last year. We were about 4 months of supply. Now, in terms of the average sales price for single family homes, thank goodness it's actually loaded, at $880,792 for the average price of a single family home right now in the greater Fort Lauderdale area. Compared to this time last year, we're at $827,308. Now overall, that's a 6.5% increase year over year, but you will also notice that the average number of, the number of sales is down year over year. So we're at about 1,001 compared to this time last year. We're at about 1,269. Okay, now onto the condo and townhome side. So the active number of listings, as you can see, just a upward trend with the actives. So we have 13,478 compared to this time last year. We were at 10,155. Now let's take a look at the average days to sell. Still not terrible, just under 3 months, so 83 days compared to this time last year. We were at 61 days, so 2 months compared to just shy of 3 months. Overall, that's not bad. And I will say, like, the further west you go, it is a little bit better for the condos and townhomes. Obviously, we don't have any high rises out west, and they're in a little bit better shape. Plus, you're also not getting just beat up by the salt air and everything like that. The assessments are significantly less than those out east, but also it's just a different way of life. Now, in terms of the months of inventory, definitely a buyer's market overall, just like that of the Fort Lauderdale area for condos and townhomes, sitting at about 13 months of supply compared to this time last year. We were at about 7 months of supply in terms of the sales price. Still an increase in the sales price. So $378,491 is the average price for a condo or townhome right now in the greater Fort Lauderdale area. Compared to this time last year, we were at about $369,000. I mean, call it $370,000. It's about an $8,000 increase. Now let's kind of take a look at the number of sales. So sales are down overall. We had about 1,012 compared to this time last year. We had about 1,400. So 400, unit decrease, but we are increasing a little bit. As you can see, 971, 37, 857, 995, 789, 818. The last 2 months, March and April, right around 1,000, which is always a great sign. But now let's kind of take a look at what's going on in the luxury market when it comes to things. So let's take a look here. We're gonna call both single family and condos and townhomes in the greater Fort Lauderdale area. And we're gonna do a million plus for us. So right now, the active number of listings, a million plus. So we're starting to creep up there in terms of the active inventory, about 2,800 listings compared to this time last year. We're at about 2,200 listings. Let's see the average time to sell, which is surprising a little bit quicker than most single family and condos and towns. We're at about 75 days on the market, very similar to this time last year. So as you see, the luxury market is still relatively healthy. Now, when it comes to the months of inventory, it's very similar to kind of everything else that we've already seen. About 12 months supply. We're still very much so in a buyer's market across the board. Steady increase in inventory, 8 months of supply this time last year. But our sales price, just like everything else, is up. So average sales price right now in our luxury market, so that's homes over $1 million, is $2,093,756 compared to this time last year. We're at $1,928,599. So we've been sitting pretty consistent these last couple months, give or take $20,000 to $40,000 within there. So that's a good sign for us. I mean, it's still pretty healthy. In terms of sales, just like before, we're down, compared to this time last year, 285 compared to this time, 237, but we are increasing. I mean, since September, we've just slowly increased, which is always a great sign. And it doesn't include a lot of our new construction. This is only resale. And now let's talk about our luxury market. And we're gonna talk about the luxury market as a whole, including both single family homes, as well as condos and townhomes. So what defines our luxury market? With our average single family home price being 1.2 million, I'm saying that our luxury market starts at $3 million. Are some of those luxury? That's where it gets kind of confusing, but I will say overall, at $3 million plus, that's definitely into our luxury market, because you'll have, in that $2.5 to $3 million range, there are some nice homes. It is luxury, don't get me wrong, but it's not kind of what some people are thinking of that upper echelon. When you get into some of these $3 million properties, you do get, everything and anything in between. So let's start to take a look. Active number of listings across single family, condos and townhomes across Fort Lauderdale area. Just very similar to everything else, slowly increasing in inventory, 428 active units right now compared to this time last year at 333. But we've kind of flatlined. I mean, 412, 417, 419, 428. I mean, we're sitting kind of flat right now in 2025. Not a ton of new inventory, which is a good sign. Now, in terms of the average days to sell, it jumps up quite a bit. And I think this is also kind of tied into the condos and townhome side of things. I mean, it is definitely a different buyer. These don't just sell like that. Now, if they're priced right, and that's why I wanted to kind of move the price up to $3 million, because in the $2 to $3.5, maybe $4 million, there are people that can buy that cash, and there's a larger pool of that. When you get over $5 million, that pool significantly shrinks. So right now, our average days to sell is about 152 days. So just shy of 6 months. We're at what, 5 months, right around that time frame. Up about 20 days compared to this time last year. And we're kind of all over the place. I mean, in December, we were right around this. January, February, right around it. March was a little bit different, kind of dipped down. Now, this does not include these new construction condos. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to months of inventory, we are sitting at about 18 months of supply. Definitely a buyer's market, and overall, I mean, this time last year we had 12 months of supply. It's just a different overall product on the market. Now, the average price point is about $6.5 million compared to this time last year of $5.3 million. So up $1.2 million year over year, while kind of going down in the number of sales. So as you can see, 24 right now this month compared to this time last year, 28. I mean, we're right around the same, but nothing extravagant. They're not selling like hotcakes. I mean, look at that number. So 24 compared to the active number of listings. What was it like? It was in the 400s. So not a ton of them moving all the time, but our price point is slowly creeping up as more and more luxury buyers are moving down here, and they're starting to realize and notice that put Fort Lauderdale on the map. A lot of them really think of Miami and West Palm, but Fort Lauderdale has been a hidden gem for just way too long, and the word's starting to get out there. But let's kind of take a look at some of the sales that happened in the luxury market in the month of April. Now, in the luxury side of things are still rolling. Let's take a look at kind of some of the sales that have happened recently. So this is the most expensive single family sale in the month of April. It was in Los Angeles Isles, $27.8 million, 10 bedrooms, 13 and a half bathrooms, just a little bit under 14,000 square feet. Pretty much a brand new home built in 2023 on a point lot right there. So you're on the river, beautiful home. I mean, look at that wrap around. You're on the intercoastal. You can't get any better than that. Plus, it's pretty much a brand new home. It was built 2 years ago. So that's the most expensive. Then we had one right there on Hillsborough Beach sell for 14.4. We had one sell for 12.2. Let's see if we can find a condo, Harbor Beach, Marshy Park. That one's pretty cool. I mean, finally some yard space. That is one thing you will find, that not a lot of single family homes on the water have a good yard space. Now, this was our most expensive condo sale here in the month of April, $7.8 million at the Four Seasons in Fort Lauderdale. So, I mean, you can't beat the views. But this does also not include, for the condos and townhome side of things, the new construction ones. So for example, at Andare in Fort Lauderdale, which is going to be a brand new luxury condo coming to Las Olas, they have set the record for the highest price per square foot condo sale in all of Fort Lauderdale at, I believe it's $2,660 a square foot. So as you can see, some of these new luxury condos will definitely be breaking records. It just won't be put in the MLS. But overall, I will say things are still moving on the luxury side, still taking a little bit longer to sell, just like anything else, but there's still movement, which is always a great sign. So that's what's really going on right now in the Fort Lauderdale market, the greater Fort Lauderdale area, as well as a little bit of the luxury market. So do you still think the real estate market is crashing? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you or anyone you know are looking to move to Fort Lauderdale or South Florida in general, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. We've helped hundreds of families just like you make the move down here to South Florida, and we'd love to help you as well. You can give us a call, email, text, whatever's easiest for you, we got you.